Do you wake up at night thinking about work? Because if you do, then in this video I'm going to share 4 ideas, 4 things I know you can do to sleep better, relax more, and still get things done. I've done waking up thinking about work like a champion in my time, and I had my first breakthrough about how to do things differently after a particularly bad episode. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, one night in September 1996. I woke up with a start, my heart was pounding, and my mind was racing. I had all these ideas spinning around in my head. Things I needed to remember, things I couldn't afford to forget, and things I needed to do. I must ring George, I must get that report written. Don't forget this project must be completed by the end of the month. It wasn't great. It wasn't great for my sleep. It wasn't great for my energy levels. It wasn't great for my peace of mind. I felt like my ability to perform my job, my ability to thrive was on the line. And overthinking that made my overthinking about what I might forget even worse. Now, that first breakthrough idea I had came from a conversation I had with my friend Tim, who I met for lunch the following day. He suggested to me that the reason these things were flying around in my head and waking me up was because I had an unresolved deep down fear that I was going to forget them and that forgetting them would be catastrophic. So I was overcompensating with all this activity. Now, that made a lot of sense to me because when I was 19, I got myself into a big mess by allowing myself to forget things and get disorganized. I've spoken about that in some other of my videos. Now, that turned into a very traumatic experience for me, and probably something had gotten into my unconscious mind that made me hyper alert to the risk of forgetting something important. I eventually recognized that ultimately I needed to release that fear and anxiety that I'd learned to have off the back of that episode. For the purposes of this video though, I'm going to concentrate on the practical strategies I applied to make the quick wins. That's because releasing that anxiety is a longer game and is not so easily reducible to a set of stepwise instructions. So that first breakthrough, it seemed clear to me that the remedy was to make sure I didn't forget these things. So let me ask you a question. How would you normally do that? If you're anything like me, you probably came up with the answer, well, let's write it down. You see, I figured if I could get all of this noise out of my head and down onto paper, I'd have a lot less spinning around up here and I'd sleep better. And so that's why this is the first point on this action plan. Get the noise out of your head and down onto paper. Get a notebook and a pen or a pencil, and if you wake up with these things spinning around your head, get them down. By the way, to avoid disturbing other people, it's a good idea to have a night light for this. Something bright enough that you can write by, but not so bright it's going to wake other people up. So I did that and it helped, but not completely. You see, I'd missed a trick. This was a quick win strategy for if I woke up. I really wanted to preempt waking up. So I thought, what if I actually spent some time writing these things down before I go to bed? Which brings me to the second point of this action plan. Before you go to bed, get some quiet time. No TV, no radio, no internet. Put your devices down. Just go somewhere dimly lit, somewhere quiet where you can just think clearly. Have a rummage around up here for things you know you need to remember and get them down onto that piece of paper before you go to bed. I did that and I found that useful too. But it still wasn't actually complete. And that's where I realized the missing piece, the piece that really makes this work. You see, I woke up again the next night and I didn't get why at first. I mean, I'd got this out of my head. It was on paper. It shouldn't have been spinning around up here anymore. So I had a look at what I'd written down and I realized something about that. It was just a statement of what had been on my mind, but something needed doing. And I didn't see in my mind's eye what that was going to be or when I was going to be able to do it. And that's why it hadn't worked. That's why the thought still bugged me. So I started modifying this routine. Now I would not just write down what needed to be remembered, but I would ask myself 2 questions. Number 1, what do I need to do? And number 2, when do I see myself doing it? That doesn't have to be a specific time, by the way. I mean, it can be. It can be I need to call George and I'll do it at 10 o'clock. But to be more flexible, it could also have been I need to call George and I see my way to doing that the first time I get 5 minutes between 2 meetings. But you know what? Even that wasn't quite enough. It was nearly there, but there was still one little thing missing. Yes, I was going to call George. Yes, I was going to call him in the first 5-minute break I get between meetings. But to say what? To achieve what? For what purpose? I found that the more vivid I could be and more specific about what I was going to do and when I was going to do it, the more my mind let me go. That's what it needed. Now, when we struggle with these kinds of things, it can also be useful to develop quick strategies for changing how we feel and getting out of muddied thinking states quickly. And to learn more about that, watch this video over here. This is Steve, wishing you health and happiness.